Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and every now and then I get a lot of questions about what's wrong with my reel. So I thought what I would do is I would take a moment here to give you some of the thoughts that I have on diagnosing a problem with a reel, either one that you own and are using and fishing and all of a sudden it's not working, or maybe it's one that you're going to try and purchase and, well, you just want to make a good evaluation of what may be needed in that purchase in terms of repair in order to bring that reel back. I like to give reels a second chance. Most of the time, the issues that have to do with reels can be divided into three segments. One is that there's a mechanical failure with the reel. The second one is that it's just dirt and grease, and a good cleaning will take care of the issues. And the third one is what I'll call operator error. And we'll use that as a general category. Somewhere along the line when somebody was teaching me how to present things and the like, they said don't go any more than three. People can't remember anything more than three in terms of categories or bullet points or things like that. So we'll just stick with three. Mechanical issues, operator errors, and dirt and grease and grime. So I have a bunch of reels here. Most of them are sitting here waiting for repair. Some of them are just parts reels and the like, but I'd like to give you an idea of what I go through when I diagnose a reel and try to point you in the right direction. Again, if it's your reel, you know a little bit more about the history. Maybe you were fishing with a reel and all of a sudden the reel stopped performing. Well, you know something broke inside usually. But then again, you know, it may just be that something is jammed or stuck or whatever in there. If you don't know the issues, maybe you're at a yard sale or garage sale or some other place where you can buy used fishing equipment, then you probably should make some mental notes about the performance of the reel and see if it's something that maybe you can figure out. All right, let's start with some issues. We're just going to pick up a bunch of reels. I'm going to try and keep this video to about 10 minutes, but along the way I'll try and explain to you the process that I use to diagnose the assessments that I make in terms of whether the reel's repairable, and if it is repairable, then what the next steps might be. If you're interested in these kinds of videos, if you like to see how fishing reels are serviced, repaired, come apart, problems diagnosed and the like, well, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button. That'll tell you when I'm presenting the videos. And maybe some of the reels that you see here will become subjects of those videos. We'll have to see. Well, let's start with this one. This is a King Neptune reel. It was sold by Sears. It was made by Daiwa. And if you listen closely, that's going to indicate that the issue is mechanical. The reel is functioning. That issue there is going to be one of two things. It's going to be a worn main gear or pinion gear. That's the most likely one. Or it's possible that it is just a bearing. But a bearing kind of has a little bit of a different pitch and sound. Again, you may not have a tuned ear, but something like that is an excessive vibration, and that's usually when the teeth on the main gear go. If you're looking for bringing this reel back to life, chances are you're not going to be able to find the replacement parts for that. If you want to fish this reel as it is with a kind of a grind, that's okay. I've taken the clicker off just so you can hear that noise. You can go ahead and fish this, and you can do a regular service on this one. Pull the screw, go inside, clean it up, lubricate it, and put it back out there fishing again, and you'll be okay. Here's another reel. This is a Shimano Corsair. It doesn't turn at all. Now that one concerns me. Two things are going on here. The cap is missing for the spool adjuster, but that's not stopping this reel from performing. There's something, oh, all right, we got something going on here. At least it's turning a little bit. When I'm looking at this now, I'm going to call this one possibly user error, because I'm looking over here and I'm seeing that the line, when it comes around a certain way, the line here is trapped under the spool. So two things have happened here. You've lost your spool adjuster. That's left the spool to wobble in and out. like that. And that line under there is what's causing the skip. We're going to call that one operator error. So you'd have to do two things to bring this one back. You need to get the adjuster cap for it. You need to take the reel apart. Of course, if it's just one that you purchased, you want to make sure that it's cleaned and lubed anyway. And then put the cap back on, get the line cleared from the side plate. You'll do that by removing this side plate, pulling the spool out. There's two connectors under there that will release the side plate. Get all of the old broken line out, and that one should go fishing again. Well, we're on the subject of broken line. Here's a Penn Senator 3.0. You can see about every third turn here, it's hanging. It's got a kind of a knock in here, and it's hanging. Without opening this reel up, I'm going to attribute the issue with this one to the same issue we just saw on that Shimano. I'll call it operator error. Why do I call it operator error? Because everything is turning. It's just turning roughly, and I guess after doing enough of these, you realize there's most likely broken line either on the gear side or tangled up in the back of the spool there. That's because of improper adjustment on the spool. That one should go fishing again. Well, sometimes they're mechanical. I just previewed this reel the other day. If you got a reel that sounds like that, something's broken inside. You can't necessarily guess all the time. My guess, though, is it's up top in the spool. Seems like the main gear is working fine. The oscillation is going up and down. There's just a horrible noise. Underneath here, you do have the anti-reverse feature. It's controlled by this. And you also have the pinion gear and bearings and rotors and pieces upstairs. My guess, it's under the rotor there. It's mechanical. The good news with a reel like this is that, well, you generally still get parts for a lot of these older reels. We saw the same thing with this reel. And this one's not a guess. It's a failure for the bail to trip. I'm also looking underneath here. There's a gap here that shouldn't be. Probably have a bent bail. You can see the gap there when I pinch the bail in. And I suspect that the spring is probably not operating properly. It probably hasn't been set correctly, and that's why this one's not tripping. We'll go ahead and try and take care of that one as well. All right, sometimes you just wonder. So here is a Shimano Calcutta. It's an older one, and we're missing more than just the spool adjuster cap in this case. We're also missing the bearing that goes there, and we're missing a side plate screw as well. But look at this. If you can find the bearing, the cap, and the side plate screw, you've got a functioning reel. So this one we're going to call operator error. Somehow they've lost the pieces that went along with that. Well, two Shimano Calcuttas. This one's missing the cap, but has the bearing. Well, maybe I'm halfway to making the other one work. It also has a screw. Looks like we might be able to get the screw out of there. And it looks like somebody took off the line guide assembly there. Why would you take the line guide assembly off? Well, it's probably failed, and instead of going and getting the replacement parts for that, they just removed the worm and all of the associated pieces with that, decided to fish this as a conventional reel, which is okay. You can do that. It probably is very expensive to try and rebuild this reel and putting that line guide in. Why did the line guide fail? Chances are this reel got snagged up on the rocks, and when it got snagged on the rocks, somebody tried to power out of it by cranking it. Well, something's going to lose in that equation. Either your line's going to break, or a part on the reel is going to fail, or you're going to free the snag. But most of the time, it's going to be that the line guide is going to fail. That's kind of your weak link. There are plastic parts in here and idler gears. They crack all the time. If I was looking at this, I would look at this only as a parts reel. Again, we're missing the drive gear, we're missing the idler gear, we're missing the worm gear, the pawl, the line guide, the shield. There's just too much missing here to say that this is an affordable reel to go restore. Let's talk about some operator errors. I get a group of reels that come in from a local fishing club. They do derbies for kids, teaching them how to fish and the like, and well, a lot of operator errors with first-time or novice fishermen. Here's a good example. This is a Shakespeare Tiger. You can see, well, the handle probably does tighten. We're missing the alternate side plate cap. The bail was broken off. And I don't know how they did that, but they broke both wings of the arm of the case. So this is a parts reel. There's nothing you're going to be able to do with that one. But that's okay. They gave me about 15 of these reels, and I think I'll get half of them back together again. Here's a mechanical failure. This is that same Tiger. It has all of the parts on it, but your handle doesn't turn. Somehow that handle is stripped in the main gear. It screws into the main gear for tightening, and well, that's not working. So what do? We take the handle from this one, we take the main gear from this one, we put it over in this, and two make one. And that's certainly a thought of it. Here's another example of a reel. We've lost the adjuster button on the top. You can actually fish this reel this way. You have the nut and the spring that's going to hold that down. It's not the best answer, but you can use it. And go from there. So if you saw this one laying on a table at a flea market, a consignment store, pawn shop, whatever, this one, you know, you could find the button to replace it, or you could actually take this fishing as it is. Here's a mechanical failure. We showed this one the other day. We've got a bail that partially trips, and you can see that the spring is not set properly here. I'm thinking this is operator error. Why? I think somebody took this bail off. You very rarely have a spring that come out of the side here naturally. Even if that spring breaks, it usually just sits inside the cavity in the case and has nothing to do with that thing sitting proud. So my guess is somebody's probably played around with this one. This is a 308, highly desirable reel. We're going to get the spring. We're going to put this one back together. We're going to make sure it goes fishing again. Well, some of those old reels have got stories to tell. I'd love to find it. This one lost a bail wire. This is the Shakespeare 2052, 2052, sometimes called the Royal Maroon set. This also does not have an anti-reverse. Well, we just did a couple of Shakespeares. I did one for Bobby, and didn't have any anti-reverse. We found out it was just grease choked inside. So what is grease choked? Grease choked is when a reel seizes and you just can't turn it. And that's usually because it's been in storage for a long time. The greases and lubrication that were inside the reel have just dried up. Well, here's an example of that. I can't turn this handle. I'm thinking it's grease choked. I haven't even been inside this reel, but we'll do it right now. And if you find one that's grease choked, that's a good investment usually, because that's it. You can just see we've got layers of dried grease on here. You can see it's almost like shellac. Let me carve my initials in there if you like. You can get a good deal on it because the owners will have given up on it, even though this one's in beautiful condition. The owners will have given up on the reel. You can soak this with penetrating oil, take the pieces and parts off, out, clean them up, and put that one back to fishing again. Actually, I'll do a video on this one to show everybody how to do that. So we'll call that one operator error because it wasn't installed properly. Let's just do one more here. It's another old Mitchell. This one is the 410 Mitchell. It's got a bail that looks like it partially trips and then gets hung up. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing that it's tripping and it's making an effort to close. It's not closing all the way. I'm going to give that one the dirt and grease and grime issue. Let's just see if we can fix that right now. I'm going to take penetrating oil to both sides of the bail. I'm going to work it back and forth. Maybe a second shot of that. The bail wire is a little bent. You can see that's not a perfect arch. So that'll be putting some pressure on it. But let's see what we did. Look at that. It's fixed. And somebody gave up on that reel just because of dirt and grime in the set. Now we've got it closing. Not closing all the way. It's got to be cleaned more. But hey, for a quick shot at it, you'll see that it hangs a little bit. And that's because this bail is bent. So we can rebend the bail, take this off, clean it up, get this one fishing again. So to net that out, if you're looking at old fishing reels or new fishing reels, here's a fishing reel that's new. What's wrong with it? The handle is wobbly. Why is it wobbly? Somebody has over tightened this screw to the extent, well, it just doesn't tighten anymore. You can see I can turn this all day. It won't tighten it down. They've stripped the inner core of the handle on this one. So whether you're working on old or new, take the time, do an investigation, use what you know about fishing reels and the mechanics to try and isolate the problem. Use what you know about the parts availability and where you might be able to salvage a reel, and where a reel maybe like this one isn't worth salvaging, even though it's a beautiful reel, and go from there in terms of whether you make a decision to buy. If it's your reel, I hope I've helped you to isolate the issues that are going on inside your reel so that you're able to take the action necessary to clean it up and to make it go fishing again, giving it a second chance. So I hope you've enjoyed that little view into why fishing reels fail. We'll call it mechanical, we'll call it user error, or we'll call it dirt and grease and debris. And isolate them down, have a strategy for how you're going to go about servicing the reel and how to get it going fishing again. I hope you've enjoyed it. To our first responders, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. To everyone, have a great day. I wish you good luck fishing and many happy returns and seeking out reels that can and should be repaired and given a second chance. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.